So last night, as we were saying, President Cyril Ramaphosa spoke to the nation in his State of the Nation address, and he called for greater investment from the private sector and the role that he wants it to play in that drive. Now, earlier on, I spoke to Kas Kuvadia, CEO of our business Unity South Africa. Let's take a look.
I'm not convinced, or we are not convinced at BUSA, that it moves the needle substantially. We have been working with government on some of the issues you mentioned. Some of the localization work that's been happening, and we've been interacting with the infrastructure office in the presidency. But we've sort of our mantra, if you like, for the last few years, and it still remains, unfortunately, and that's the tragedy of this, is that we can work together to try and do a lot of short-term stuff, and some of it still needs to be done. But some of it we started talking about 3 years ago. So the RFPs for the next tranche of renewables will still be issued. We've been talking about it for 3 years. They should have been issued a long time ago. Spectrum, we've been talking about for 3 years. Now, apparently, it's been delayed till the end of March. Getting people into the Durban port and sorting the port out, we've been talking about for the last 3 years. Now, these are all issues that could have been implemented very quickly, and we've lost a lot of time. In that time, we have gone through events that put us into a situation of crisis. We have no economic growth. We have a country and an economy that's been downgraded into junk status. We have a fiscal crisis. We are living beyond our means. COVID has exacerbated all of that. And if we don't ask ourselves, what do we need to do to take us out of this crisis, which is essentially to make the necessary structural adjustments in the economy to create an environment for investment, both local and global, and off the back of that investment to begin to put ourselves onto an inclusive growth path. If we don't actually tackle that, we're not actually tackling the systemic issues in our economy. And that is what we've been pushing for the last 3 years, and we continue to push. We would have definitely appreciated some indication from the president. He did talk about the structural reform issues that need to be made in the economy, but he talked about Operation William Deadline Treasury, that they are working on it and so on. We need government, business, and other parties to get together to say what needs to be done, and let's get that going immediately.
Before I get your thoughts on the other issues where you say you are involved with the government, I wanted to talk a little bit about your thoughts on the issue around localization. Is that a project that you are working with the government?
We are working with government on it. And look, during the COVID crisis, we made good progress on the PPE. We in the initial stages, we imported all of our PPE. We then worked with government, with DTIC, to develop about 30-odd local manufacturing operations for PPE. We're looking at different products to actually see if we can manufacture in the country. And so we are looking at that. But again, while we will make some progress on that, if we're not going to get substantial investment into any of those if we don't address the underlying issues of creating an environment for investment.
The president spoke about the target of, I think it's 20% reduction in imports over 5 years. Are you in that target?
So we've agreed targets, but we've also made it very clear that these are indicative targets. That doesn't mean that we're going to achieve those targets. A lot happens on the way, depending on the context, depending on how we actually make the necessary interventions. We don't believe we can reach those targets if our economy doesn't begin to grow and we don't get investment in. So we've agreed indicative targets to to actually provide an incentive to all of us to try and do our best in this, and we are doing our best in this.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, we can't continue to avoid some of the fundamental issues we need to tackle.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue.
Yeah, the other thing that the president spoke about that we had not heard before, at least from outside, is the issue of the anti-corruption agency. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, we hadn't heard about the anti-corruption agency, but look, we can put together structures to deal with corruption, but at the end of the day, if we don't actually ensure accountability and we don't take the hard decisions to hold people to account, all the structure don't work. I mean, the recent case is a case related to former President Jacob Zuma and the Constitutional Court.
Yeah.
Absolutely clear that he's got to appear before the commission.
Yeah.
Absolutely clear that if he doesn't appear before the commission, he'll be in violation of the law.
Yeah.
You don't prevaricate on issues like that. If it's an ordinary citizen, we'd say that the law will take its course.
Yeah.
So if we can have all sorts of structures in place, if we don't have a conviction to actually hold people accountable and apply the law, then we can, presidential commissions and so on, nice to have, but don't actually make a difference.
Sure. I want your thoughts on a couple of issues as well. One is on the water authority, and then the other one is on the energy policy reform, the potential increase in that threshold for 50 megawatts by businesses. How big a difference do you think that will make? And also, what about this water authority? I've seen positive commentary from people that I consider neutral to this one.
Yeah, look, I think water is probably our next big crisis, if it's not already a crisis. So I think a water authority to concentrate on what we do about that crisis is I think, good news. We certainly, through organizations like the National Business Initiative, the NEPAD Business Forum, and others, we've been doing a lot of work on the water area, and we would certainly be very keen to participate with government and other parties to actually plan ahead for the water crisis that will come. So I think that's a good move. On the energy side, absolutely, the changes in the law to allow generation by businesses and individuals has got to be welcomed and will make some difference. But again, it's something we had on the agenda for quite a few years.
Sure.
The ESCOM CEO came out in support of that recently, and we were very happy that he did, and we issued a statement saying that he is absolutely correct. So let's get this thing going, but let's then also look at it within the context of a sustainable energy mix. So we've been calling on government to implement essentially the decision that they have taken before. And so if we get this implemented, we get the RFP for the next tranche of renewables issued urgently, then we're beginning to actually make an impression on the overall energy problem that we have. And so we certainly welcome the change in legislation to enable generation by business.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've been reading in there, I've been hearing people talking about Operation Vulindlela, some making the point that, of course, Operation Vulindlela is trying to move a big ship. It's not possible to turn it around quickly, give the government time, maybe it will get it right. Before you go, one more, and this one is around the president last night saying that they are going to appoint professionals to run municipalities. Too long, he says, we have appointed people, nothing has been done. Again, a promise. But do you get any sense of sincerity in terms of his commitment to making these things public and then the follow-through that will be required?
Look, we've always been supportive of President Ramaphosa. We think he's the right person for the job, okay? But why are we in the situation we are in? It's because of the deployment policies of the party that he leads. And we've said publicly that we cannot allow a situation where issues in the ANC, and it's the ANC because it happens to be the majority party, but issues in any political party spill over into government and impact negatively on government's ability to actually govern and to provide services and so on. So we welcome his announcement that municipalities must get professional people, expertise, and so on. But then we need to ensure that political deployment and so on doesn't come into play. We need to find the right people for the right job. Again, over a number of years, business has publicly said, if we are approached, we are prepared to provide and find capacity, appropriate capacity for the jobs that are needed, particularly at municipal level. So we welcome the statement. We will certainly look forward to clear plans on doing this and then getting it done in the next month or two.
As I said to him, I haven't heard him say welcome, welcome so many times in a number of interviews that I've